the rules and structure of ASL Grammar can be very confusing for beginners. But in this video, our expert ASL instructor, Victoria, is going to help break down the general concepts to help you get a better understanding. And before you go, click the link in the description box to learn more in our online free ASL classes.
When learning ASL, our instinct is to believe that it follows the same rules as our English grammar, but that's actually not the case. ASL is completely different in many ways. It has its own syntax, grammar, idioms, expressions, things of that nature. So in English, for one thing, we have tone and inflection in our voices. Our tone and inflection changes our meaning completely. It can show if we are being sarcastic. It can show if we're happy, if we're sad, if we are emphasizing a word or not. So that all comes out in our voice. In ASL, we have to still use some sort of tone and inflection to give our sentences meaning. The question is how? Well, in ASL, it's all about your facial expressions and your body movement. It might feel a little silly at first because perhaps we're not used to making certain facial expressions or moving in a certain way, but the truth is that just signing a word in ASL does not give it the meaning that we necessarily need in any given sentence. We need to add in our facial expressions to give it the meaning. For example, if I want to say happy, this is our sign for happy, but this alone does not necessarily mean happy. Why? Well, if my face looks like that, am I really showing happiness? In order to give this meaning, I have to have a smile on my face. I have to show that I'm happy. Same thing if I was saying sad. Sad. My face should have a frown. I should look somewhat sad. Now, this is also important when showing different meanings. By moving our hands in different ways, it also gives it a different meaning. So, sad, crying, like bawling, crying. It all changes with our movements. It gives emphasis and additional meaning to our sentences. Facial expressions are so important. In English, we use that word so to put emphasis on the next word, which is important. In ASL, we don't have a word for so. This is our sign for important. If I want to show it is so important, I kind of drag out my sign, but my facial expressions is also putting emphasis on the sign. So 50% of the language, yes, is knowing your signs or your words, but the other 50% is your facial expressions and your body movement. You really can't have one without the other. So as silly as it may feel, it's very, very important to use those in your sentences. Another thing that makes ASL so different is the lack of certain words. In English, we use words like or, and, is, of, the. All of those words and others are not included in ASL. For example, if I wanted to say the table, I never say the. That word doesn't exist in American Sign Language. So I simply sign table. When signing a sentence like I like cookies and milk, the word and doesn't really exist in American Sign Language either. In this case, we use something called role shifting. So I would say I like cookies. I'm signing off to one side, in this case my left. And milk, I'm signing on my right. So I'm not doing something so dramatic, but it's a slight shift that we call role shifting. Cookies, and milk. This is our and. This role shifting can also be used for or. For example, in the question, do you like cookies or milk? So we might sign cookies, milk, still doing the role shifting. And to show the or, we do the sign for which at the end. So again, those words and, or, is, of, the, etc. Those small little words that we have in English, they don't exist in ASL. You might find them in other forms of sign like Signed Exact English or PSE. So the less words, the better. Which kind of brings us to our next point. English is very much so word for word for word. We have an exact structure to our sentences. In ASL, that's not the case. While there are some grammar rules that do exist, ASL is not about word for word for word. One of my favorite examples is I am walking down the street. I would never sign I am walking down the street. That is English. In ASL, my goal is to paint a picture for the person I am speaking to. So I would say maybe here's the street and I'm walking. And in that case, I am able to put a clear picture instead of just putting a bunch of words out there that really, in the end, don't give a real meaning to my sentence in ASL. So if you take one thing home with you today, it's that ASL is a simple language. It's very straightforward. So really, the less words you use, the better. What gives ASL meaning and emphasis and all of those things that we're looking for in our English sentences, we convey them in the inflection we're using in our sign, the tone that is coming out through our facial expressions and our body movement. With practice, I know that you're going to be able to deliver any meaning in any of your sentences perfectly in beautiful ASL structure.
Hey there! Thanks for watching. We want to know what you find the most challenging about ASL grammar. Leave a comment and let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing so you can stay up to date with more helpful tutorials just like this one.